What's up, guys? We are going to be getting this. This is a SunL 150cc Grizzly clone quad here. So you know the China quads. It's got a GY6 150cc. It's got reverse, neutral, and drive. So it's been sitting out here in the tent for probably 4 years, I think. I drained all the gas and everything when I stored it, so it should be pretty straightforward to get going. I actually pulled it out not too long ago and got it to fire over, but noticed that the gas tank was leaking. So somehow, through it sitting the last 4 years, just developed a hole in the gas tank. So I don't know if there was something chewing it or what, but we're gonna get in there and we're gonna see that. We got a new gas tank, we got a new battery. We're gonna get this thing fired up and rolling around. Hopefully sold soon. So stay tuned.
God bless, we're breaking these runs like too short to play.
All right, guys. So like I said, I kind of had this pulled apart. We just did this maybe a few weeks ago, so everything will come off nice and easy. Seat and panels, and you pretty much can get access to everything. So like I mentioned, there was like a hole in the gas tank, and it was like kind of up in there. So we're gonna pull it off and check that hole out and see what it looks like. Put a new gas tank on it. All right, guys. Just general reference here, when you're wrenching on some Chinese quads, Japanese quads, you know, anything, you're gonna be using your 10 mil, if it'll focus, the old 10 mil, 8 mil, you know, those real small kind of metric sizes. You're gonna be using those pretty much exclusively. So to get this tank off, there's this through bolt, long bolt here. That one goes right through there, and then one right here holds that on. I already undid that. So this tank should, yep, just lift right off. And then let's see if we could find where it's leaking, where the hole is. Oh, I see. You see that right there? It looks like the hole is because that might be me. I don't know if I ever took this tank off, but it looks like it was just torqued down too tight. So you know, when you put your tank on, or if you have one of these, you're working on it, you rebuilt the carb, whatever, don't torque that down too hard, because it looks like that was it. I was kind of wondering, it was like a animal getting there and chewing it up or something, but nope. So that's just user error. So, but with that being said, we got everything exposed here. I mean, literally, you've got a few screws, right here, elsewhere, that basically holds on the rear fairing. Battery box right here. So it's all exposed. That's what's super fun about working on these quads is, once you get the panels off, it's pretty much all right there. So let's get this tank off, get the new one on. Here we go, brand new tank. This is one I, to be honest, just snagged off of Amazon. These tanks, I know there's a company, I think it might be VCM or VMC, Chinese bike products, but they sell pretty much everything you need for these Chinese quads. But with shipping and everything, it was going to be just as much as this Amazon tank. And the Amazon tank makes it just much easier if you need to return things. So that's why we went with that. But it's a Chinese quad, so that's kind of part of the course. But anyway, the new tank comes with a new petcock here. So this generally when you're working on old bikes, old quads, dirt bikes, whatever, these petcocks can get pretty gummed up and everything else. Just easier to replace that. I think off the VCM or VMC, I think it's VMC, that's like a $2 piece, so. But with this tank, it came with the petcock and the new cap there. So we're gonna slap this on. I don't even know if we're gonna mess with changing out the fuel filter. Technically, you probably should, guys, but you know, for the sake of getting this running nice and quick, just to see what happens. I mean, you know, let's see what we can do. All right, guys. So we're gonna go ahead and replace this. Might as well, you know, get this thing running. Don't want to have to worry about this thing leaking on us. I mean, this is old, kind of hard plastic line, so you know, we're gonna swap that out. But what we're gonna do, basically, we're just gonna match this up. You know, cut our pieces that fit, put our new filter overnight from Israel. See how it goes. It's like that. Out with the old, in with the new. Cinch that down right there. Boom. Just for, you know, general reference here, this fuel filter does have a flow direction there. I know some have a little arrow, but you know, we're taking it from the tank, sending it straight into that carb. All right, guys, we got this new tank on. It looks like we're pretty efficient with that there line running. That's a little bit bigger of a fuel filter. Could probably use, you know, a bit of a longer line there, but you know, it's not really kinked. And for the sake of just trying it out. So anyway, back to kind of what I mentioned about taking these bikes apart with the old metric set. 10mm for the front, and then this back one here, that's an 8mm. So, you know, a 10 and an 8, and you could pretty much take this whole thing down. I'm pretty sure those are 8mm, 8 or 10s there. Look more like 8s, you know. So I mean, get yourself a basic kit, man. That's probably the biggest bolt you're gonna deal with. That looks like maybe a 15 or 17 there. So, you know, super easy to work on as far as I would say the cost of entry tool wise. But yeah, let's throw some gas in this thing and see what happens. We've got our battery ready as well, which with this bike, last I remember, the auto start didn't work, at least up here. So we had to give her the old, you know, jump start solenoid screwdriver, you know, key, and it, you know, would fire up perfect. So I think what we're going to do now, just to test it, put some gas in it. And this GY6 actually has a Kickstarter, which is very nice, very handy, you know, especially if you're out there on the trails, you know, or whatever, and your battery just isn't cooperating for whatever reason. You could, you know, you can always make it out as far as that goes, because this is an automatic bike, so it's not like you're going to be able to, you know, push start it or anything like that. So let's get some gas in this and see what happens. It's got to be enough to get us going. It looks like right here petcock is off, so we should see fuel start to flow once we flip this over. And where's my fuel? Where are we at? Might not have enough in this thing. Let's get a little more gas in there. There we go. We're starting to fill up. See that right there? It's one of the nice things about having a fuel filter. You know, I mean, even over time, like sometimes it's tough to see on these clear lines if there's fuel in there or not. But with a fuel filter, you can pretty much always tell. So yeah, let's see if we can't kick this thing over, get it to fire for us. This bike does have a choke. We'll put that choke on there. No, choker. There we go. Super nice. Yeah, having that kickstart is kind of a pain because it's kind of a short throw kickstarter. But I mean, this thing hasn't ran in years. So for it to kick over and start that easily, That's a real nice feature to have. Again, this is a SunL, you know, so just generic Chinese. Could be a Tao Tao, could be a, you know, a Ling Lang, whatever, you know, whatever brands they have out now. But yeah, not sure on how old this is, but it's a GY6 motor, so it's air cooled. Behind this shroud here is actually a fan. You can see it spinning there. And that fan basically pulls air in. I assume it pulls air in, shoots it across the jug there, and that's how you cool this motor. But it's, you know, neutral, reverse, and 4 gears. Super cool layout. I mean, super cool design. The GY6s, I've worked on a couple of them, and compared to the standard, you know, kind of, you know, the normal, you know, bikes that have like the 2 or 3 gears, the GY6s, the automatic bikes, are just kind of a lot of fun. You know, over here on this side, this is where the transmission is and the belt. So behind this casing, there's a clutch, you know, flywheel, a belt, and it's essentially kind of like a CVT transmission. So, you know, the higher the revs go, it kind of throws the belt out and compresses the clutch, and you get a higher speed. So yeah, super fun. So I think now what we're gonna do, that dangling spider there. That's what you can expect on working. Oh my God, look at that one. That one's red. That's what you can expect working on these old bikes. Let's see if any of my switches over here work. I don't think they do. Headlights work? No, they don't. So my key does though. Oh no, maybe my key doesn't. How do I kill this thing? It's been so long. Let it run out of gas maybe? Man, it sounds great. There we go. So it does sound like the carb might need to come off, because the idle jet sounds like it's perfect. But once it gets up past a certain rev range, these carbs, they kind of move over to another jet, if I'm remembering correctly, and that's kind of your, you know, your moving jet, and it sounds like it might be clogged. So yeah, let's see. We'll throw that battery on real quick. More Chinese goodness, guys. I can't tell you how many of these batteries I've been through, mainly just because you know, you get into it and then you fall out of it and you don't charge them for a few years and they just kind of, you know, die on you. But I'm going to show you real quick kind of a neat solution to actually getting these things mounted, because if you've used you know, these batteries before, you know that the hardware is kind of a pain in the butt. So what we're going to do, you know, those are our little, you know, our little terminals there, you know, hollow, if you will. Can you see that? And then we have our little nuts and little bolts. And with these, you have to put the nuts, you have to slide them in, and then, you know, fashion your bolt on there with your terminal, you know, of course. But one of the issues with these is, you know, these nuts, they just move all over the place. So it can be real difficult to get them to actually stay in there. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a little bit of this. This is dielectric grease. We're going to put a little dielectric grease just right there on either side, and that should, in theory, you know, hold our little nuts in place, so we can actually put this together, you know, without losing nuts or going insane. So what we're going to do, like I said, is we're going to take a good boog of this dielectric grease, and we're just going to kind of stuff this little hole here. Dielectric grease is non-conductive, so it's great for electrical components, you know, connectors, You know, the battery terminals on your cars, you know, I'm sure if you've seen them get, you know, real corroded and so on, and, you know, they kind of get that calcium looking buildup, which I assume might, you know, probably is calcium, but, you know, it kind of gets that nasty corrosion. This will help prevent that. So, you know, it'll help keep everything clean, as well as help prolong your electronics, you know, especially if you're in, you know, kind of spots that have crappy weather, you know, and just kind of subject your vehicle and everything else to heightened levels of corrosion. Can't go wrong with a little dielectric grease. So, but I would say this is probably a slightly, uh-oh, look at that, we're losing our hardware already. Our mine's soon to follow. Fell right in the chain. There we go, we got them. Okay guys, so what we're gonna do, let me show you this real quick. So you can kind of see, yeah, you can see the nut through there. So they are like perfectly lined up. So, and we can move it side to side. They're not gonna fall out, which is like super cool, because that, you know, if you know, you know, kind of thing. Yeah, because these can be a real pain in the butt, dude. So I think we'll put this side, and then there's our positive, so we're good to go. We're just gonna drop this bad boy in here, screw her down, and then see how we jump start. Look at that tiny little battery in there. All right, so we had to go grab the old Harbor Freight nut and bolt assortment there. Got a little washer, and hopefully if I can get this over here, start to get that threaded on. Maybe not. Kind of working one hand here. There we go. Look at this. Look at this, guys. Look at this. Give me my nut. Give me my nut. Oh no. I don't know if this will work. So this is, it looks like it's kind of one of the other issues with these nuts, is sometimes your hardware isn't long enough to reach it. Gosh, you know, man problems. All right, stay tuned. Do a little magic here. All right, movie magic done. So we are buttoned up here. Should be as easy as crossing our solenoid here. Let's see. There we go. That's one way to do it. So I do think we are going to have to pull that carb off just to clean the running portion of that, you know, jet system, but we'll clean it all just the same. So if you care to see that, you know what to do. Give us a like, give us a share, give us a follow, everything else. Otherwise, comment and see what else you want to see on this, because there's quite a bit to be had. I think, you know, the plan, you know, after getting this thing running, which obviously it runs pretty decently, new tank, new battery, solid, is figuring out, you know, what we need to do to get our actual electronics situated, so we can actually start it, you know, maybe have some lights on it, well, maybe not on the rear because we don't have the light bar for it, but, you know, so yeah, we'll see.